Rosie O'Donnell is fat. Huh. Got him.
What do you need a 15 AR for, man? I got nuclear bombs. Drop the bomb. Nuke all the countries, man. Send tweet.
Is it really fair to say that Biden caused the apocalypse?
93% of the day didn't even consist of the world ending.
And people don't even realize what high probability that could actually happen. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Radowski of WeAreChange.org. A lot of very important information to get into today, specifically surrounding the larger war on men in context with current events and previous stories that are definitely worth a visit when understanding the larger context here. And we're going to get into that plus all the latest news. But before we do, the video that we played in the beginning of this broadcast is, of course, by Freedom Tunes. I think he does awesome, amazing, creative work. He definitely deserves more subscribers, and that's why I put his channel down in the description below, because he truly does very unique, great work. Now, as major cities in the United States deteriorate to utter crap holes, like New York City, that, by the way, not only can't run a proper election, launching an absolutely convoluted, complicated system where people get to rank their candidates, elimination processes, transferring of votes from one candidate to another candidate. Yes, that's the system right now that New York City is using for its mayoral race. That, along with testing votes, has brought the whole mayoral race into utter chaos. New York City also can't keep the power on, as right now New Yorkers are issued emergency alerts on their phones telling them to, quote, immediately limit energy usage because of the summer heat, joining another failed crap hole state like California, which is having also similar issues, of course, having trouble keeping the power on. There's also a water shortage and other disasters facing the state of California, but what are the politicians in charge doing? Well, they're playing party politics, as the state of California just announced that they are banning state travel to Florida and 4 other states because they allegedly don't support the LGBTQ community. I'm not joking you. The state attorney of California just added Florida, Arkansas, Montana, North Dakota, and West Virginia to the list of states that state employees are forbidden to travel to except under, quote, limited circumstances. It's good to know that during this energy and water crisis, the state of California has their priorities straight and setting up more ridiculous rules and regulations. In related ridiculous news and regulations, the state of California and New York have had the strictest lockdowns in regards to the sickness last year, which a lot of the preliminary scientific data shows had absolutely very to little no effect, only creating pain and suffering for the majority of its residents with absolute ridiculous decrees that punished them for everyday activities. California and New York are also 2 of the biggest states receiving the most amount of federal funding from the Biden administration that is bailing them out so they never face the true repercussions of their actions. In related, not facing the repercussions from your action news, we of course have the latest news that Bill Cosby was released from jail on a technicality. This while other people like Ross Ulbricht, who deserve to be freed, are still behind bars. Check out freeross.org to find out more information about that particular case if you haven't heard about it before. It's also important to note here that former U.S. President Donald Trump had the opportunity to free Ross, Edward Snowden, Julian Assange, and other political prisoners that have been wrongfully charged while trying to help humanity, while, of course, he decided to pardon Kodak Black, who recently released a video where on his private boat he threw away $100,000 into the ocean. In related news about how the government is absolutely insane, we got confirmation that yes, indeed, the NSA did spy on Tucker Carlson and his private communications. And it didn't take a genius to figure that out. Since, of course, through the Snowden leaks, the FBI lying on FISA warrants, James Clapper lying to Congress, the CIA hacking Senate computers, and so many other instances of the government directly being caught spying on American citizens, which huge data centers, obviously, the NSA was spying on Tucker Carlson. We finally got confirmation of this. But according to the Washington Post, they wrote this awful piece of smelly garbage, which they call journalism, deciding to side with the secretive, unaccountable intelligence agency. They sided with the NSA rather than a journalist trying to hold them accountable. And this is, again, one of the authoritative approved sources for big tech social media to push out their larger talking points and agenda, to push a narrative, which, by and large, if you question, you're the one that usually gets the brunt of big tech censorship, and most likely the NSA keeping a bigger, closer eye on you. But we got some good news of Poland pushing through legislation that would actually fine social media companies $2.2 million for removing lawful speech, which, in my opinion, is definitely an appropriate measure to take with all the political censorship that has been going on. Now, will this move by Poland actually make a big difference with how big tech treats free speech? Well, we will see, but I'm definitely not placing any bets on it, and that's why I launched LukeUncensored.com, our own platform where we get to do whatever we want, say everything we want, and get into a lot of the issues that we can't talk about on big tech social media platforms. Today, we're going to be talking about this issue in front of your screen right now, related to this issue, and it's going to be a very important perspective video that will be sent out later to you through our email list. But don't forget to sign up on LukeUncensored.com. We have a free email list as well, and sometimes we send out Luke Uncensored videos exclusively just for people on the email list, which you could sign up. We are Change.org, top right-hand corner. And don't forget, Saturday, July 17th, we are doing a special Apocalypse Survival and Self-Defense training course. More information about that will be down in the description below. Now, a few years ago, if you said that there was some kind of war or agenda against males, you would be laughed at. You would be ridiculed. But I think more and more, especially seeing a lot of the circumstantial evidence being provided to us almost every single day, I think it's very fair to kind of entertain these ideas and to maybe even take them seriously, especially with all the latest current events that are happening right now. Now, men for a country, a culture, a society are extremely important. This is why during many wars throughout human history, males were the initial targets. Whenever a population was conquered, the males were exterminated, eliminated, taken out. Women and children of a conquered territory who were taken over were subject to the new men that came in and replaced them. And there's an extraordinary amount of events that unfolded like this throughout recorded human history, especially with all the reports coming in of blood clots and heart inflammation that predominantly is happening in young males when it comes to a medical procedure that the establishment wants you to take, as well as a sickness that, according to some preliminary studies, can cause male infertility. Again, I'm going to be talking about these issues more extensively on LukeUncensored.com because we're treading into the territory of things we cannot talk about on YouTube. But we're going to get into fertility in just a little bit, which is another wide-ranging aspect that is showing some extremely troubling data that there definitely should be a bigger conversation about. But even when it comes not just from the physical perspective of what's happening here, mentally, we do also have to acknowledge that there has been, for a while now, a larger narrative, a larger agenda that portrays male figures, particularly fathers, as idle, feckless, fat, bubbling idiots that can't get anything done right and are just utter buffoons, couch potatoes that watch meaningless sports ball all the time. Those portrayals, those identities, those representations do have an effect on people's psyche, especially when it's done through commercials, TV shows, movies, and other forms of entertainment that reach the subconscious of the human mind and have a larger effect than we could even quantify in words, especially when it comes to the larger social interactions, treatments, and behaviors that are a byproduct of a larger psychological misinformation propaganda outreach program that is having far severe societal impacts that could be quantified in many different ways, whether it's divorce rates, whether it's depression rates, whether it's suicide rates, whether it's males just checking out of society, which they're doing in record numbers. Women right now are outpacing men in both college attendance and graduation. Suicide rates for middle-aged men continue to rise in drastic numbers. Fatherless homes are becoming the norm, as nearly 1 in 3 homes are now fatherless, and with young boys being sat in front of a television or given a phone and having Hollywood have carte blanche on their minds, what kind of representations, what kind of expectations do they have? And the website intellectualtakeout.org actually wrote a very interesting piece about this in a cultural article that's titled, quote, "Boys are stupid, girls are awesome, most TV shows and movies today." This is also definitely true. There's also a racial component to this that is also pushing the divide and conquer agenda that is also very complicated and convoluted, but we're just going to stick on the topic of men here who, by and large, have this kind of larger representation of them in modern entertainment. But the larger point that I'm trying to make here is a lot of people don't realize a lot of these propaganda efforts that are dished to them, especially when they gaze their eyes on the blue screen expecting nothing but entertainment, but they're getting what clearly here is an agenda. Another major push by a lot of the cultural leaders has been to turn men into women, not just in portrayals of movies, but also in real life. And before moving on in this subject, I just wanted to clarify that whatever floats your boat, whatever you want to do, you do it. As long as you're not hurting someone else, you have the personal responsibility and the personal freedom to do whatever you want in this world. And in no way, shape, or form am I trying to pass judgment on someone living whatever the life that they want to live. But let's acknowledge here that there has been not only a huge acceptance, but a large promotion of men that are turning into women. This is very heavily happening right now in women's sports, where biological males are competing with women. That, I think it's fair to say, is creating a big disadvantage for women, since, of course, there are biological differences that men, especially in sports, do better than women in. And we have not only seen this in sports, we are seeing this in also now beauty pageants, as Miss Nevada has, quote, made history by being a transgendered woman. Comedian Andrew Schultz decided to tweet about this, saying his story, which I thought was very ironic here. And I think we need to really clarify here that there's a difference between accepting people and promoting certain ideas and identities, and personally speaking, I'm willing to accept anyone, no matter who they are, no matter what they represent, as long as they're a good person and they don't hurt anyone. But promoting and forcing an idea down people's throats, there definitely should be more of a conversation surrounding this, since even the U.S. Navy is forcing one of their units to take part in mandatory diversity hikes. There's arguments being made by the Washington Post to bring adult behavior to young children during pride parades, which is absolutely disgusting. There has been other incidences showing toddlers twerking, which has been promoted and widely accepted by people in New York City who clapped for it. And I'm sorry, but when it comes to this author who's wanting to bring adult content to small children, I'm sorry, but that is absolutely wrong, horrendous, and horrible, and deserves to be called out. There's another incident where allegedly a person showed their junk to women and children. Literally, a person flashed their male genitalia to women and small children, and some people are arguing that this was that person's right. And no, I think that's not a right. I think that's absolutely wrong. People have gone to jail for less. And now a CEO of the Trans Latin Coalition responded and saying the woman who complained about children being exposed to male genitalia is horrible for complaining about it. And if people are arguing about this, we truly, honestly have to take their mental well-being into consideration here, since you have to be absolutely sick to argue for this. And this is a byproduct of the larger agenda that's being pushed by the multinational corporations, private intelligence agencies, Walmart, Goldman Sachs, Raytheon military complexes. It doesn't matter. We see the establishment push this larger narrative and represent it in many ways, including with the Air Force now announcing that it will let airmen walk instead of running, to do push-ups on their knees instead of proper push-ups, and to choose what physical tests they want to do in order to be admitted into the Air Force. Yes, the CIA even came out with their own woke commercials, along, of course, with the U.S. military that has done the same. Clearly, the priorities of these special interest groups is to either pander or to promote these larger byproducts and ideas that view masculinity as something bad. And if masculinity was not just being attacked by our entertainment industry or societally by big banks and multinational corporations pushing this agenda, it's also happening physically, as of course most males in the Western world, particularly in Europe and the United States, are seeing a huge decline in their sperm counts and fertility rates, which are absolutely skyrocketing down. And whether it's pollution or lifestyle choices, we have to understand that this is going to have a huge, tremendous impact on the future of this country, where more and more people are finding themselves incapable of reproducing or not having any drive to do so. This, along with testosterone levels, have also completely dramatically dropped in the United States. Males with low testosterone also face a lot of physical ailments and problems, not only with their muscles, not only with their bones, but also specifically mental problems that are a byproduct of their testosterone going down dramatically. Now, are men of this country being conquered? Are they being taken over? I think after examining some of this information, there is a legitimate claim to make here that I think is definitely worth considering. Who do you think is doing it? Let me know down in the comment section below. I always appreciate your feedback. I always appreciate your constructive criticism, but also I appreciate the conversation. What's happening right now, especially to males, is absolutely troubling. There should be a bigger conversation about this. There should be more studies dedicated to this. There should be more of a look, more of an insight internally to see what we could be doing better, and there's none of that. We hope at least to start the conversation, to acknowledge that there is a problem is the first step towards solving a problem, and that's why sharing this video, watching it with your friends, family members, loved ones, even strangers down the street, doesn't matter, is extremely important. Double click the URL, and because you do that, I am still able to be here for you almost every single day. I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.